So solving one-step equations, we're only focusing on adding and subtracting today. We need to talk about a couple of rules. Now, when I say solving one-step equations, basically what I'm talking about is this here. I have a plus 7 equals 9. Now, that was our first problem off our opener, right? Except for instead of the a, they had a square. They had a box. And we had to figure out what that box represented. Let's resume here. So it's basically the same thing that we did on the front side of our opener, except for this time I'm throwing in, what's that A represent? What's that thing called when you see a letter in math? What's the term for a letter in math? What's that thing called? Kelly? Variable, yeah. So solving an equation, you're going to have a variable that you have to figure out what number does this variable represent. Well, this one is kind of easy. Just think, what plus 7 is going to equal 9? You guys already told me this. So what plus 7 equals 9? Yeah, so a equals 2. Meaning, if I plug in 2 for the variable a and I take 2 plus 7, it's going to equal 9. However, we're not always going to deal with smaller numbers. Smaller numbers like this is easy. But if I put like 5,000, so a plus 239 equals 5,000, it's going to be a lot more complicated for us to do. We're not going to be able to simply think in our minds like, ooh, how can I solve that? We're going to have to show some work. So the first thing when solving equations, we're going to talk about the golden rule. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, what do you think you're going to do? Anybody have a guess? Yeah, you must do to the other side. So go ahead and write that on that first line there. You must do to the other side. I apologize if my handwriting is difficult for you to read. Like that O is not the best, so I apologize. I know, I don't know what's going on with that O. I think I wanted to make it look a little special. Give it a little extra loop. Okay, so the golden rule, whatever you do on one side of the equation, you must do on the other side. Now, when I say equation, what is the equation part? Like, how do I divide the sides? The equal sign. So I'm talking whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, I have to do on the other side of the equal sign. All right, let's look at the next part here then. Now, when you set your equation up, you don't need to write what I'm writing in the blue here. So we have a plus 7 equals 9. We're going to do a couple of things. Because when solving an equation, the goal is to do what? So when we solve our equations, we're going to circle the variable every single time, just the top line. And we're going to draw the line of equality. The line of equality is going to tell us whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. Now, that's our golden rule, the first thing that we talked about. But why am I circling the variable? What is the purpose of circling the variable? Good. So we're going to circle the variable because that's our visual cue that we want to get the variable by itself. So when you're solving equations, the goal is to get the variable by itself. So go ahead and write, get the variable by itself on the line. Michael, can you write this down for me? Now, we're doing one-step equations. We're going to start doing multi-step equation as the year progresses. How do you know that this is a one-step equation?
Because you only got one number.
Not one number.
Well, one variable.
Not one variable. One operation. What's my one operation right here? What's the operation that it's asking? Addition, yeah. So we're going to do multi-step equations down the road, and you'll know when it's more than one step because they'll have more than one operation. What are my 4 operations again? Good. All right. Moving right along here. Now, again, we have a plus, I'm going to write this just as an example. You don't have to write what I'm writing in the green. Now, to get rid of a number in an equation, we have to use a particular term to do that. Now, our goal is to get the variable by itself. So if our goal is to get the variable by itself, what number do I have to get rid of? And say it louder. 7. Now, it's a plus 7, so how do I get rid of the plus 7 on this side? I subtract 7. Now, the golden rule, whatever I do to one side, so if I'm going to subtract 7 on this side, that cancels. On my left side, what am I left with now? Just the A. I'm going to put my equal sign on my line of equality. And what's 9 minus 7?
3.
Try it again.
2.
2. And then because I'm picky, I'm going to box that answer. You don't have to write this down now. But when Danielle said, we're going to get rid of the plus 7 by subtracting 7, we're doing the opposite of whatever operation it's telling us. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is what? Addition. The opposite of multiplication will be division. And the opposite of division will be, okay, now, it's not, the proper term is not opposite. It's going to be use inverse operations. So on that line, you're going to write inverse operation. So when I say, what is the inverse operation of addition, that basically means, what's the opposite of addition? All right, you guys ready to start this? Get into the examples? You have it? You have inverse operation on that? Those two lines here? Put inverse operation on there for me. Now, I'm going to say it again. Whatever I write, you write. You learn by practicing, right? Practice what you preach. So I'm preaching the new notes to you guys, and we're going to write them down so we learn them. So, example number 1. Go ahead and write this on your line. Next to example number 1. A minus 5 equals 3. Now, this is where I'm going to get extra picky, okay? Remember how I set up my example equation that you guys didn't have to write? We're going to start by circling our variable. We're going to draw our line of equality nice and straight. That's just going to keep your work nice, neat, and organized. Now, when I solve equations, the goal is to get the variable by itself. So if I want to get this variable by itself, what do I have to get rid of? And what goes with that subtraction sign? No. I have to get rid of the subtraction sign. What else do I have to get rid of, though, to get this by itself? The 5, right? So if I have to get rid of this minus 5, I'm going to use the inverse operation, which is the opposite. So what's the opposite of minus 5?
Negative 5.
What's the opposite of negative 5?
5.
What kind of 5? Yeah, a positive or a plus 5. And then the golden rule, whatever I do to one side of the line of equality, I do to the other. I draw my line just to keep my work straight here. I'm going to show that the negative or the subtract or the minus 5 and the plus 5, I'm going to show that they cross and cancel each other out. Then on my left side, I now have the variable by itself, so I'm going to bring that A down. On my line of equality, I'm going to put that equal sign. Main thing is that I just said, on that line of equality, I put the equal sign. Thank you. Is this an extra one? Do you want me to hold on to it in case you ever lose one and I have it? Okay. Then on the right side, I'm just going to solve. What's 3 plus 5? 8. And when you solve an equation and you get the final answer, what do I do with my final answer? I'm not just going to box the 8. My final answer is A equals 8. So I'm going to box that entire thing. So when I look at your notes, you should have it set up just like me. Your equal sign should be on your line of equality. Okay? I know it seems extra, but I promise you it will help keep your work straight when we get to more complicated problems. Excuse me. Okay, everybody have it? Okay, let's look at example number 2 then. So example number 2, go ahead and write that down. Put my example number 2 down. Michael? So B minus 16 equals 37. All right, Deja, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Yeah. Then? Nope. Before I even mess with that, what's the next thing after I circle my variable? Yeah, I'm going to draw that line of equality nice and long to make sure it goes through all my equal signs. Now, the goal is to get the variable by itself. So if I want to get the variable by itself, what do I have to get rid of, Jalen? If I want to get the variable by itself, what do I have to get rid of? I don't see a positive up there. What do I want to get rid of? The negative 16. I do that by using the inverse operation, which is, say it again.
That's all I was talking about.
Oh, you're a step ahead of me. So a plus 16. So to get rid of the negative 16, we're going to add 16. Golden rule, Kelly? Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. Now, if you notice, I'm not just putting 16. I'm showing that I'm adding 16. I cross it out on the left. I come down. What do I have left on my left side by itself now? The B. What do I put on my equal sign? That was a silly question. What do I put on my line of equality? Yeah, I just totally gave you guys that answer. And then what do I put on my right side? How do I figure out what goes on my right side here? How'd you get that? 37 plus 16, right? And we get, as Deontay said, 53. Final answer, 25 after. I'm going to box it.
No, what line?
9:25 is the end of first period. So I will have Mr. McFarland walk you down at 9:20. Circle your variable for me. Cancel those because they cross out. Draw it. I should have made the cancel better. I didn't. Draw your line. Bring your variable down. So make sure you get down what I have. All right. I'm going to be extra picky. I'm going to pick on you. Oh! You're missing something. Tell me what. What do you not have that I have? Ah! Fix it.
I got it.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you. Oh, now you do.
I've been here.
No, you didn't. You had to do that when I walked by. You snuck it in there. Did you figure out what you missed? Okay. I told you guys I am going to be so picky until we get it right. Not right now. Now's not a good time, but I can in just a little bit. Okay, next one here, example number 3. We're going to work with some bigger numbers. C minus 223 equals 961. All right, David. First thing I'm going to do.
First thing you gonna circle C.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that doesn't look very good with maroon and maroon. Second thing I'm going to do. What's that thing called? I know you know what it is. Can somebody help him out? The line of what? What do I call that line? The line of equality. So we're going to draw our line of equality. Now, my goal is to get the variable C by itself. So listen to the question that I'm asking. Michael, I need you to write this down. We're on example number 3, please. So I need you to listen to what question I'm asking. If I want to get the variable by itself, what do I have to get rid of?
Negative 2,
And what do I use in order to do that?
plus 223.
What is that called?
Huh?
What is that called? What you just did. What's that called? Inverse operation. Okay? Am I done?
No.
Because why?
You gotta do it.
You gotta
Yeah, my golden rule, right?
You gotta bring the C down.
So I'm going to show that this cancels. Then on my left side, I'm going to bring my C down. My equal sign on my line of equality.
No, answer is
Then what's...
184.
Okay, are you sure? So 3 plus 1 is 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Now, you can write it just like that, or you can write your comment in too. Questions, comments, concern on that one? Make sure you have all the proper steps down for me. The variables circled, the lines drawn, answers boxed. You showed all your work. You're the one that told me to circle that. And you didn't do it yourself. Okay. Bring your variable down. C equals. And then box your answer. See what I have up there? That's what I want to see on your paper. Okay, let's look at example number 4. Go ahead and write that down.
How you gonna go to some kids?
What there, Mumbles?
How you gonna go to some kids and then go back to some kids?
You know, I'm going to make you think hard, and then I'm going to pull back a little bit and let you chill a minute, and then we're going to get hard again. You know I always make my work easier than harder, right? Okay, he's coming. So, let's see here. Who haven't I heard from? Yeah, he has been quiet today. All right, Jaden. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Okay, then. Say again. Not yet, not yet. After I circle my variable. Mr. McFarland, after I circle my variable, what do I do?
There's a line you gotta pick somewhere.
Yeah, line of equality.
Equality.
You have to think about it.
Well, no, I purposely caught him as he came in. But, Mr. McFarland, how many years have we been in the same math class together now? Just our second year?
Yeah.
But, listen,
We'll say
he hasn't heard this lesson yet this year, and as soon as he hears, after I circle the variable, what do I do next? He knows, because it becomes that much repetition. All right, now, Jaden, you said we need to do the inverse operation to get the variable d by itself. What's the inverse operation, or the opposite of plus 5? What?
Can you repeat what you
Oh, yeah,
said?
yeah. Only if you can repeat what you said. Are you not feeling it today? No? Okay. So, what's the opposite of plus 5, or the inverse operation of plus 5? What's the opposite of add 5? You have it. Yeah, minus 5. So we got to get that d by itself. So we're going to subtract 5. Golden rule, whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. So on my left side, what do I bring down? Anyone? Nice and loud. The d. What goes on my line of equality? And then what's 11 minus 5? 6. How do I show my final answer? What? Who's talking about circles over there? Box it. That's right. Good job. You guys ready to go home? Man, we really talked about circling and boxing. I have no idea what she taught, though. All right. You missed the whole example. So go ahead. Switch to example number 5. Right? So let's look. Flip your paper over. Example number 5. Now, what's different about this problem compared to the previous 4 problems that we completed? Yeah, the 7 is first. Which is fine. We're going to use the same steps. So we're still always going to start with circling our variable. We're always going to start with drawing our line of equality. Our goal is still to get the variable by itself. So I have to get rid of that 7. But this is where it gets a little tricky. So I have the 7 out here. This is a positive or a plus. I don't really need to worry about that. But there's no sign in front of the 7.
That means a positive.
Good. If there's no sign in front of a number, it means it's a positive. So you have to visualize a plus in front of that 7. So what's the inverse operation of plus 7? Subtract, or minus 7. So golden rule, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. My 7s cancel. On my left side, what do I bring down? What do I bring on my line of equality? And then I solve. What's 11 minus 7? Anybody? Try it again. Yeah. Say it again. Box. Woo, box it. Good. You got a question? I would really like you to get through this and get through the notes, and once we get through the notes, then yes. But you missed another example. Try to get 2 more down. So let's start here. Don't worry about that one. Let's start at example number 6, okay? All right. Example number 6. We have negative 7 plus f equals 29.
I think I know.
Oh, shit.
You gotta put a plus 4.
You're like getting way ahead of me. I don't even do that stuff yet.
I mean, wait, you first circle the L
Because what's that F called? My.
variable,
Okay, then what?
and then you put, you do your line.
What's that line called? Line of equality.
Equally.
Okay, now pick up where you're at.
Yeah, and then you supposed to put some plus 7.
Why? What's that called? What are you doing with that minus 7?
You take that. I mean,
No pressure to find the term on your notes. What's it called when he did the opposite of minus 7?
Inverse operation.
Inverse operation. So he said we're going to add 7. The whole point of doing the line of equality is to help us remember the golden rule, which means whatever we do on one side of the line of equality, we must do on the other. Okay, now I need to clean this problem up a little bit. I need to do some things. So what do I need to do on my left side yet? Okay, I'm going to bring down my variable f. What else do I need to do?
oh. 29 plus 7.
Yeah, I'm going to show that those two cancel each other out. Then what do I do?
And then you can put do 29 plus 7.
Okay, what's 29 plus 7?
Your answer will be 36.
Okay, I'm missing two things here. Equal sign, where does that go?
Right on tune. Definitely 30%.
On the line. And last thing I'm missing? So, thumbs up if you're going to ace this part. Like, you got it. Thumbs up if you got it. Thumbs here if you're like, it's all right, I'm getting there. And thumbs down if you're like, what is this person talking about? Oh, I know you're not a thumbs down. Get out of here. Okay, let's look at example number 7. You all have this. If I go too fast, you have got to let me know. Sometimes I tend to go too fast. All right, example number 7. What is wrong with this one?
This stuff just on the
Yeah, everything's just on the other side. Does that mean I'm going to switch it all around so it shows g minus 2 equals 5? Or am I going to leave it just how it is and solve it like that? Leave it just how it is. So we have 5 equals g minus 2. We're going to follow the exact same steps of what we've done on every single problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is circle my variable. Second thing I'm going to do is draw my line of equality. My goal is the exact same thing. I still want to get that variable by itself. So to get that variable by itself, I have to use inverse operation. So where am I going to use the inverse operation? If I want to get this variable by itself, what do I have to get rid of? Anybody? Nice and loud. The negative 2. The 5 is already over here. I want to get this by itself, meaning anything that's over here with this variable, I have to get rid of. So negative 2. So inverse operation of negative 2 is, or minus 2 is, yeah, positive or plus 2. Golden rule, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay. Now, what do I bring down? Listen to the question. What do I bring down on my left side? The left side. The left side of the line of equality. Here's my line of equality. What do I bring down on my left side? 7, because 5 plus 2 is 7. What do I put on my line? Equals. Now, what do I have to do on my right side here? Drop my G. What else do I need to do? 2 things. Box. And 1 thing left. No? Yeah, go ahead and clean that up and cross that out.
So you gotta cross that out.
I would like you to. It helps keep. You've done it almost every single time, so why are you complaining?
Because I ain't doing these past 3.
Slap. So, the main thing is, you guys, don't switch your variables. If your variable's on the right side of the line of equality, keep it on the right side. If it's on the left side, keep it on the left side. The only time that you'll switch variables is when we're solving equations with multiple variables on each side of the line of equality. And that, I think, is, I want to say that's second semester. Or maybe the end of first semester. But it's not going to be for a while. Okay, everybody have this. Moving right along, example number 8.
What are we doing this first minute?
It's all in your syllabus. Okay, I'm going to have Danielle tell me what I'm going to do from the very beginning to the very end. So what's the first thing I do? Okay, and? No, not yet.
Excuse me?
Can somebody help her out? Kelly? Okay, circular variable. All right, goal is to get the variable by itself, so go from there. I want to get this by itself. What do I get rid of? If I want to get this by itself, what kind of 2 is that? So yeah, the opposite of a minus 2 is a positive 2. Where else do I have to put that plus 2? Good. So I'm going to clean that up on the right. What do I bring down on the right side? Right side. Shh. Danielle, you sound so manly. Okay. Then we're going to take negative 7 plus 2. So there's 2 ways that you can think about this here. Either the money way, or are the signs different? Yeah. So what's 7 minus 2? 5. And is 7 or 2 bigger? And so what type of charge does 7 have, or sign? So that 5 is going to have a negative. And then last step. There you go. Now, if you are really struggling with negative or the integers, you guys all have a negative button on your calculator. Do you all know how to type in negative 7 plus 2 into your calculator?
What?
Do you all know how to type in negative numbers into your calculator?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody has it. Okay. Any questions on example number 8?
Nope.
All right. Let's move on to example number 9. Would anybody like to volunteer to complete this one? All right, Deontay. So example number 9, go ahead and get it down.
No, I got you.
I'd like you to have a seat. I need you to sit down. I'm not going to answer a question while you're not in your seat raising your hand. And I've already answered that question for you. Think about what my answer was to you when you asked to go to the nurse. Think about it before you ask me again, because I've already given you my answer.
2 questions.
That's not my expectation, though. Okay, Deontay, talk me through it.
Draw a line.
What's that line called?
Line equal.
Okay,
Circle over.
okay.
Alright. Then put negative 13. Under the 13.
But there's 2 13s.
The one that's right there with the
But they're both right there.
They're not. The one that's on the right side.
So I'm going to get rid of the 13 that's connected with
Real.
yeah. So I'm going to get rid of this 13. Remember, there's no sign in front of it, so he's automatically assuming or knows that it's a positive or a plus. So in order to get rid of the positive of the plus 13, he told me to
Subtract 13.
and keep going.
Put that on the same. Put on the other side.
So whatever I do to one side of the line of equality, I do to the other. So what do I need to do on my right side? 2
Drop
things.
that I.
Bring down my I. What else?
Cross out the 2 13.
There you go. Make sure you cross out those 2 13s. What goes on my line of equality?
Then 0.
No. What goes on my line of equality?
Equal.
Okay. And then 13 minus 13 is simply
0.
not undefined. Okay? I know a lot of kids from Carlos and Nimmons class came in saying undefined. That means something totally different, okay? 13 minus 13 is 0. And you're going to then box it. Because what that basically means, if I substitute, do you guys know what substitute? Like when I wasn't here yesterday, did you guys not have a teacher? No, you had a substitute. You had someone to replace me, right, Mr. Posey? Well, the whole point of solving these equations is we're finding what number represents that I. So we're going to substitute the number that represents I. So what number represents my I?
13.
What number? I equals what?
Oh, 0.
So if I substitute that 0 for the I, if I take 13 plus 0, am I going to get 13? 13 plus 0, does that equal 13? Yeah, my equation's true. That's all you're doing. All right. You ready for the last one? It's going to be a challenge. For the last one, you have to solve it correctly by yourself in order to get your homework assignment. Now, if you think, I'm not going to solve it at all and then I get no homework, that's wrong. You're going to work on it until you get it right. I am not going to let you leave my classroom until you get example number 10 written down correctly. Once you have it written down correctly, I will give you your assignment, and then when the bell rings, you'll be allowed to go. Oh, no, 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 I have no